welcome to another episode of Real Talk. I'm John Fossum here with Ganel-Lyn Condie. Hello, Ganel-Lyn.
Week 2, we're in it.
Week 2.
Yeah, no turning back now. Well, please.
I mean, we could.
Don't quit.
No, we won't. We won't. We're here to stay.
Yes, we're here to
Yeah.
stay.
The Old Testament can be intimidating, but not that intimidating.
Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully you've been having a good experience in the Old Testament so far this year, and hopefully our little Real Talk sessions are helping.
And we have a lot of books this week.
Yeah, we do. So we're at Genesis 1 and 2, Moses 2 and 3, Abraham 4 and 5.
Which is technically 6 books that all kind of give you a different perspective.
You and I have talked, we're looking forward to when it's just Genesis.
Yes,
right?
we're gonna
Just
be
give us a block in Genesis, man.
We could do one book.
But crossing over,
yeah. It's a little confusing.
But today is all about creation, divine origins. And we thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about some cool things like the feminine aspect of creation.
Before we go there, I think the first book of Moses is called Genesis, but I think also the word Genesis specifically, right, is that origin or beginning story, right? And so as we talk about whether we're in Moses or Abraham, the book of Genesis is authored by Moses. And so it's helpful to just kind of understand that you are getting different perspectives, but it's synergistic. And it's a lot about the importance of what we talked last week, this relationship with God and understanding the divinity in all of our creation.
Man, and in order to really understand our origins, we do need to kind of figure this whole feminine side of creation out. You know, we are a very unique religion, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because we have a declared doctrinal belief in a heavenly mother.
Yes.
And sometimes we scratch our heads because we just don't have much record of her in the scriptures, or any woman for that matter, right? We've talked about that.
Which is one of our whys this year, right?
We want to try to find it out.
Yeah, flesh out the women of the Old Testament.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, on a very basic level, if we were to look at something like Abraham 4, we'll go the Abraham account. We could do Abraham, Moses, or Genesis. In this case, we'll use Abraham. The pronoun usage, and mark the pronoun usage, it's the same in Genesis, it's the same in all the accounts. Let us go down. And they went down. And they, that is the gods, right? Creation clearly, more than one person. Was it all male? Moses 2:26-27. Let us make them in our image, male and female, right? Male and, well, I mean.
Wait, that's the pattern of creation.
So I can't, if I'm creating after my image, it's going to be a male.
Right.
Obviously, we need the female side of creation in order to create woman, right? So men and women, equal partners in creation. I know it's a tendency sometimes because there is such an absence of women in the scriptures because it's a patriarchal record. And we want so desperately to find more women in the scriptures. We want so desperately to lift women to where they need to be and should be as the natural complement to men. Now, as we sometimes joke about my English background, right?
No, I was going to say it's helpful that we have a resident English professor to bring out the pronouns when necessary.
Right.
And
Well,
the root feminine nature of some words, right?
Right. Well, here's 2 words I want us to distinguish.
Okay, let's do it.
One, complement to complement, okay? One is PLI, one is PLE. The complement means the other component of an equation that completes something, that makes it whole.
The root word is complete instead of...
complement. And so I love trying to find the complementary aspect of creation, which is obviously woman, okay? So if we go to 1 Corinthians 11, we're familiar with this. This is Paul saying, nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in the Lord. For as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman, but all things of God. The fullness of creation only exists if there is a man and a woman, right? And it's just an opportunity to recognize the reality of a heavenly mother. And if I could finish on something that I feel passionately about.
We both share this passion to clarify something.
I feel passionately about this, but I'm interested to, if our viewers or listeners, have different views, I'm sure they'll let us know. And that's great.
Right.
I just want to start a conversation. And sometimes I feel like in our attempts to bring Heavenly Mother to the surface, we kind of paint her as like a frail lady in a cosmic
Helpless.
tower who's helpless and being held under the oppressive patriarchy of an eternal tyrant or something like that. And we need to save her. And I just want to kind of invite us to think about the realities or the implications of what we're saying. Because if we believe in Heavenly Mother, and if we believe she's co-equal to Heavenly Father, co-eternal, just as powerful, omniscient, omnipresent, all those things, might I just suggest that if she willed it, if she wanted herself to be more represented in our current theology, in our current worldviews, if she saw that her degree of representation was not in line with her plan of salvation, then I feel like she would do something about it. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't actively be pursuing.
Or that we might not receive more
Absolutely,
information.
absolutely. We should always be pursuing further light and knowledge in this beautiful ongoing restoration, which, by the way, President Nelson has said has just begun.
Just
right?
begun.
So buckle up and take
Right.
your vitamins.
And you know what? Perfect week for us to have an expansive conversation. There's a gospel topics essay
Yes.
on Heavenly Mother.
Yep.
There are great resources. You can go. We have interviewed Sam, our famous editor that we give a shout out to, and she's very private, so she doesn't always love it. She's written a great little board book that talks about heavenly parents and that exact teaching you just brought to the surface. There's some great resources out there. And there's a misnomer out there that somehow the lack of information we have, as you were just referencing, is due to the Lord's desire to protect Heavenly Mother.
Right.
And that is a false teaching.
Yeah,
It's not.
I see where it comes from, right?
Right.
We're trying to make sense of why
yeah.
we don't hear much of her, from her, right? But it's just my feeling, my passionate feeling that Heavenly Mother, as a co-equal to God, can handle herself. And if there is something she wants us to know more about her, she will speak.
And isn't it, I think we were discussing this previous to taping, that the lack of information can feel frustrating, but
Yeah,
it
for
also
sure.
allows the Spirit to do the teaching, right?
yeah.
There's something about the fact that we get to rely on the Lord
Yes.
through the Spirit to teach us what information is true and what's going to be expansive. But what a great way to start out this week's discussion.
right?
To say, like, if we're going to talk about creation, don't skip over the Heavenly Mother portion of this and the female partnering.
And try to see her for who she is, co-equal. She is God. This is her plan, too.
Yep.
Right?
Okay, I'm going to jump in a totally different area.
Go.
Verse 27 of Moses 2 talks about, and I, God, created man in my own image, just like we talked about, in the image of mine only begotten created I him, male and female created I them. The direction I like to switch this to in just a little bit is not to assume this is only the issue of females, but I think generally speaking, it can be. And that is what I've shared in vulnerable ways previous on this show about my own history with eating disorders and how I feel passionate and write about in this book, You Are More Than Enough, that if you come into my home and you talk about your body or food in a way as if it is your enemy, you will be invited to stop talking that way. And if you can't, you'll be invited out. I mean, that's how passionate I feel about this, because this verse of scripture is saying literally God created us, male and female, in his image. And just like I wouldn't have you disparage God, when we talk about our bodies in a way that put our bodies down or make it as if our bodies are our enemy, then we are literally saying what God has created is not worthwhile. And Elder Holland, right?
I love him.
Boldly in October 2005, and I remember when he gave this talk, he said, I want you to be proud you are a woman. I want you to feel the reality of what that means. To know who you truly are. You are literally a spirit daughter of heavenly parents with a divine nature and an eternal destiny. That surpassing truth should be fixed deep in your soul and be fundamental to every decision you make as you grow into mature womanhood. And then he talks about we are all different. Some are tall and some are short. Some are round and some are thin. Frankly, the world has been brutal with you in this regard. You are bombarded in movies, television, fashion magazines, and in advertisements with the message that looks are everything. The pitch is, if your looks are good enough, your life will be glamorous and you will be happy and popular. That kind of pressure is immense in the teenage years, to say nothing, he's speaking to me, in the later womanhood. I just feel like what a great week to not just emphasize the complement nature between men and women, the creation and that pattern, but the sanctity of our bodies. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No.
Okay.
No, I just would give a
An amen.
hearty amen.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, can we jump to Genesis 2?
Let's do it.
And here's all this creation, and then we have a day of rest, right? We are told in verse 3, Genesis 2, and God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in that he had rested from all his work which God created and made. There's going to be a lot discussed about Sabbath day, and there has been culturally, right? Yeah. When I was in the Middle East, the Sabbath day was on Saturday. So famously, the stake president and area authority that were hosting me said, we're the only stake president and area authority that golf on Sunday, which they do, because Sunday is not their Sabbath day, right? And the Hebrew word, I'm probably going to butcher this.
I'm not a Hebraist, so no judgment.
Kodesh is commonly translated as holy. And so really that root of what I think the Lord is asking is, are you going to set apart this day, and is it going to be holy? What are your thoughts on the Sabbath and what it should feel like or be?
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's really important to understand that each of us approaching this is it's gonna look a little different for each person. And we've been invited by our prophets and apostles to not judge, don't look sideways on this, but just kind of focus on what the Spirit directs you to do as an individual and family. But for me, in my studies of the Sabbath, as I've tried to understand what the Scriptures, I've been big in recent years of like, okay, so-and-so said this and so-and-so said that, but what do the Scriptures say about this? Then that's it, and sometimes I like to approach an issue and only use the Scriptures as sort of my guide for pondering and things like that. And last time I studied Sabbath, I was just taken aback by the emphasis on rest. Rest, and that has come to mean so much for me personally, because I know your weeks are crazy, and mine are too, and I can't wait for Sunday for just this rest on so many levels.
Mental.
Yes, on so many levels, where I cut certain things off and I refuse to participate in certain things, and I won't get into checklists. But there are certain things I know I have to get rid of to feel that rest.
And that reset?
Yes, and that reset, and just to reconnect with God. And of course, the center of every Sabbath for me is just that ordinance of the sacrament, and renewing and recommitting and finding rest, getting my metaphorical breath, getting my feet beneath me again, and just approaching the next week.
What an expansive way to say what personally allows you to feel that rest. I know for our first responders, they don't get to have the day off. And I have a friend that is a highway patrolman, and so he would listen to conference talks when he was in his patrol car on Sunday, because that was setting it apart as a more restful way. But aren't we so grateful that first responders are there on Sunday when we have an emergency and we need their help? Okay, should we jump to Abraham 4, which is really not really a jump? No, Abraham 5. We're not doing.
We're going to Abraham 5.
Look, we're done with Abraham 4.
We
just
light
finished that
speed,
just
light
like
speed
that.
ahead.
Yes. And this goes exactly to this theme of what you shared from the beginning of what complements each other. And in verse 14, it talks about how God said, let us make an help meet for the man. For it is not good that the man should be alone. Therefore, we will form a help meet for him. And there's some great resources about what that word means.
Yeah.
And there has been weaponizing of what that word means.
Yeah.
Is that a good way?
Yeah.
Do you want to share thoughts, and then
Super
I can share
important to
thoughts?
kind of know what we mean and don't mean by help meet. First of all, I like to focus on it's not good that man should be alone. In other words, man by himself is not a complete creation. That's the whole point. It's not. We need a man needs a woman, right? And even if you're single, my perspective is in this world. Can you imagine a world of only men? Can you imagine a world of only females?
Hey, listen. Real Talk was born with one why in mind, too, that there would be a representation of this partnership.
Right. So I'm not just talking about this ideal of marriage. I'm talking about creation in general as a world, right? Men and women both are so important in this process that we're going through each day of mortality. So I would probably just say that. You can find different things about help meet, is the etymology of that particular word, the origins of it.
Yes.
And it means nothing, it was never intended to mean anything inferior to a man, but that complementary piece that completes creation.
It's the person suited because
Yes.
they're equal.
Yes.
President Bingham, Sister Bingham, has said specifically that, of course, because of the importance of that,
Yeah.
Lucifer is also interested, right?
Right.
Anything
Right.
good, Lucifer
Right.
is scared
Yeah.
by. And so I love what she shared, that Lucifer knows that if he can damage that unity between men and women and feel as if
Right.
he can confuse us about our divine worth and our covenant responsibility, he will succeed in not only destroying families, I would say he would lessen our workplaces, right? Or our church discussions,
Yes.
or our ward councils, or whatever it is.
Any aspect of our communities.
Yes. I don't want to live in a world where there are not men, and
Right.
I don't want to live in a world where women are not
Right.
co-equal in helping each other.
We know that in the Garden of Eden, in our religion anyway, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we celebrate Eve's decision. We don't look down on Eve at all. She figured it out, so to speak. She's the one that had the wisdom. President Oakes gave a great talk about this a long time ago, 1993. I remember that just because it was the first major
What was that from the
conference
vault of
I
your
ever
brain?
I ever listened to.
Oh.
It was the first conference I listened to, and he talked about how we celebrate Eve, and I was like, has conference always been this good? Anyway.
Was that after your thing you shared?
Yes,
about your
that was my
coming to light?
it was my awakening, and I was woke at that point. But anyway, right. So Eve, back to Eve, and how amazing she is, and she just plays this vital role. Without Eve, they may still be in the garden. We still may be in pre-mortality, like, yo, get it going, But I had this experience years ago. My wife and I, we went on a couples retreat to Eden, Utah. Okay. Eden. I mean, it's a real place. Okay?
It's a real place
It's
in
a real
Utah.
place in
Yeah.
Utah. Eden, Utah.
It's beautiful too.
It's gorgeous. It's
Yeah.
up in the mountains. It's by this reservoir, Anyway, it was just gorgeous. And we spent the whole weekend there. Our kids were young at the time, so we totally needed the break. And it was time to leave. And I was like, hon, can we please just stay one more day? One more day in Eden, please. We can ask my parents or whoever was watching the kids, just watch them one more day. They won't know the difference. They're little kids. They're having fun. And I'll never forget, she was like, no, we just need to go back to our children. And I was like, no children yet, right? Just one more day of just us. And I'll never forget, it was very kind of tender, but like, I don't know, profound at the same time. It was kind of hand on my shoulder, like, honey, we need to go back to our children. And I said, okay. So we get in the car, we're driving home, we're driving around the reservoir, I look back to Eden, our condo, and like the sun shining on it. It's so beautiful. And I was like, I wish I could stay in Eden. And I just had this moment like, oh my gosh.
Empathy for Adam.
Yes, empathy for Adam. And I don't want to generalize. I hate male stereotypes that paint us as a bunch of buffoons. But
Right.
because
you're
male,
a checked-in dad.
Because even if I wasn't, male creation is just as important as female creation.
Correct. Yes.
And I'm very big on that, And the way males are depicted in the media can be pretty damaging,
Right.
But anyway, I just realized, wow, I think I see how Adam felt like. And I gained a greater appreciation for Eve through my wife and her perspective about, I know it's nice here, but this isn't why we're here. Mm-hmm. Kids, family, creating a place for spirits to come down on this earth and have this experience. We got to go.
And you know what I appreciate is when we had a conversation about the proclamation to the world on the family, is that sometimes we have a cultural understanding of where that division of responsibility is. And this week, as we talk about creation and we talk about the roles of men and women working together, I think it's important to understand that whether it's your family or it's hosting a show, there's a division of responsibilities that may look different depending on the family. And every family is different. And maybe you're sitting here listening to us on podcast or watching us and thinking, I'd love to have a partnership because you're a single parent right now, right? I think it's so great that we get to have these conversations about what the ideal is, knowing
Yeah.
You know, I for a time had a mom that was a single mom, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't a father in the home.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, when I went to primary on Thursdays, because that's how old I am, and everyone's like, what do you mean your dad doesn't live at your house? He doesn't live at our house, right? And then I was blessed with a great stepmom and an amazing stepfather, right? And so wherever your family is at, I think this is such a great week to just say, we don't want to live in a world without men, and we don't want to live in a world without women. And that is the pattern of creation and should be celebrated.
Yeah. I think that leads in well to the invitation.
Okay, so our invitation this week is exactly that. Where have you seen examples where you have seen men and women complement each other in a way that is inspiring, and have conversations? Because it's easy to have conversations where it's not working, right? Where is an example, maybe in extended family relationships, or maybe you see it on Real Talk? I'm just saying. And you can emphasize that and share that with your kids, or in conversations that you're having. Or maybe you're studying on your own this week and you journal about where you have seen those great examples where men and women have come together and it's been a complementary experience. And we would love to hear from you, have you share with us on social media, and maybe do a shout out for a man or a woman in your life that you appreciate their example. And we'll see you again next week on Real Talk. Come follow me.
Do you like Real Talk? Come follow me.
Then like and subscribe.